Okay, guys, this is Coach Cleveland from Healing Men's Boxing, and I'm back with another video, blog, um, podcast, video diary, audio diary, whatever you guys want to call it. And today I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Healing Myth story. And I've told this story previously in my documentary, Healing Through Boxing. And it's on YouTube. You guys can go watch it if you want. But it didn't get as many views as I wanted. So I'm sure that there's still a bunch of people out there that haven't heard the story. And I want to tell you my story, and maybe you'll understand why it is that I'm doing what I'm doing. All right, so let's turn the clock back to, let's go back to 2007. That would be the year I graduated from high school. And growing up, all I ever wanted to do was like be a professional basketball player. But that definitely wasn't in the cards for me just because of maybe this is an excuse, but my height. I'm about 5'8.5" ish, almost 5'9". About 135 pounds on a really good day. Like if I eat a lot, I'm like 135 pounds. So it's definitely not the typical frame of a professional NBA player. So yeah, that didn't happen. So after high school, I really just didn't know what to do with myself. And I was doing all kinds of things. I was taking little college courses here and working at Starbucks there. And I slowly fell into a depression. I just stopped feeling good. I stopped wanting to do anything. I just felt like my life had no purpose. I got to the point where all I would do is like sit in my parents' basement, which was my room, my bedroom, and I would go to work and I would come back. I'd dark out all the windows and I would sit around and play Xbox and pretty much do nothing. I would sit and eat. I wasn't doing much. So it was deep, it was dark, and I had no answers. I did not know what to do to make myself feel better. And I'm not sure if I can't remember exactly where I got the idea of going to therapy, but I think it was because I wasn't reading, I was listening to audiobooks while I was in my depression trying to find answers on how to get out of it. And I think I was listening to Tony Robbins Unleash the Giant Within, and something that Tony Robbins had said in that book. I can't remember exactly what, but it made me feel like I needed to go to some therapy and get some sort of professional help. So I did. I went and I got some professional help. I started seeing a therapist, and we started diving deep into my past traumas and things like that. Therapy is deep inner work, and I know a lot of people shy away from it, but I'm a huge advocate for going to therapy. So guys, go and do it. Go do the deep inner work. It'll change your life. So yeah, back to the story. We were, diving deep into my past, traumas. I had some issues with abandonment. I have a need to uh, want to make myself. How do I say this? I have a need to prove to other people that I'm good enough. Um, and it comes from my abandonment and a bunch of other things. I had growing up, I had to deal with my parents just splitting up, and my dad's battle with his mental health, and my mom's battle with her mental health, and then my stepmom's battle with her mental health. So there was a lot of trauma just all around. um, I was a decent student. I mean, until I got to high school, I really did just fine. I struggled through high school, but I got it done. But yeah, so these are some of the things that we were working through in therapy. But moving forward, the aha moment and the realization was at some point, my therapist thought to himself, he saw an athlete, right? I was an athlete, but I wasn't participating in athletics. And I had an excuse. My excuse was, uh, I'm not big enough to play college ball, so I can't play ball at all. So I'm not going to do anything. I decided to do nothing, right? We all have choices in life, and deciding to do nothing is also a choice. So remember that. Either you're doing something or you're doing nothing, but you're always making a choice, right? So my therapist came up with the bright idea that I should try boxing, and I was with it. I was convinced that I could excel in the sport of boxing because of the weight classes. So I gave it a shot. I started going to the boxing gym, and little did I know this was going to be the thing that changed my life for good, forever. It's kind of, that was, 2008, 2009 when I started doing all this. And I still do it. It's 2023 and I'm still in the boxing gym. I mean, it's actually my full time job to be in a boxing gym working with boxers and everyday people that want to learn boxing. But here's the thing, the real thing that happened that I noticed is that the same things that I was learning in therapy, I was also learning in boxing. I know, right? Sounds kind of crazy. Like, sounds like two opposite ends of the spectrum. But boxing isn't just about throwing punches. You have to be self aware, emotionally intact, and you have to be very strong minded and strong willed to box. And I feel like one of the reasons why life is so hard for a lot of people is because we don't have those healthy coping mechanisms. We don't, and we don't have any way to learn them, you know, or not necessarily that we don't have any way to learn them, but there's very little guidance growing up, and there's very little focus on being emotionally strong or emotionally intact or emotionally aware. We go to school and they teach us math and science and history, but they don't teach us like financial literacy, emotional control, and relationships. But yeah, long story short, through the sport of boxing, I was learning the same things I was learning in therapy. However, in boxing, my coaches weren't necessarily therapists, they're boxing coaches. And most of them learned by doing and they taught by showing. And it's not necessarily, I'm not saying that they weren't great communicators, but they just had a way of simplifying things to where they're so simple that there's no details. Like, for example, coaches would say, "Man, you need to relax. You need to stay calm." And there was no elaboration on how to relax and how to stay calm, right? These were things that I had to learn on my own. I was learning them through therapy, like how to, when I was feeling triggered or feeling anxious, like what was I supposed to do? I was supposed to feel my feet on the floor and know that in that moment that there was nothing going on, like I was actually fine. I needed to take some deep breaths, etc., etc. These are the same things that I applied to my boxing training, and that's basically how I came up with this whole healing mitts intentional boxing training thing. Is because I wanted to add the intention of teaching people how to fight back against their own emotions, right? So now let's fast forward a little bit. So this is kind of like the realization, aha, the where things changed for me when I was able to connect what I learned in therapy to what I was learning in boxing. Fast forward 10 years, I've been training boxing. I've been, a group exercise instructor. I've been a personal trainer. I'm working with people, all walks of life. I'm pretty damn good at what I do, and yeah, everything's going really well. But I still had this emptiness in me. Like, why did I do? Like, why do I do this? Like, am I just doing this because I'm good at it and I can get paid to do it, or am I doing this because I can make a real difference in people's lives? And I asked myself, like, well, what got me started? Like, what got me started? My own mental health. So the best thing for me to do if I want to feel fulfilled is helping other people transform their lives through the sport of boxing, not necessarily their bodies, because that's kind of what it's like in the personal training world. It's all about bodies. This everyone comes to you says, "Oh, I want to lose weight," or "I want to look a certain way," and all these superficial things that no matter how much you change your outside appearance, the way you feel on the inside won't change unless you do the deep inner work, right? So when I got to the point where decided that I wanted to help people and I wanted to focus on helping people with their mental health through boxing, I asked myself the question, well, what about boxing is therapeutic, right? How is boxing different than running? How is it different than weightlifting? How is it different than Pilates? How is it different than any other fitness modality? And I found it was the mental game. The mental game of boxing is different. It's different than I would say most of the other sports. I think it's similar to like kickboxing and any other combat sports. I think this kind of goes. I think it goes across to the all combat sports, but boxing specifically, that's just what I know. So this is what I stick to when I talk about this. So I asked myself, now, what's therapeutic about it? And how can I systemize this? How can I make this into something that's digestible and relatable to everyone? And this is what I came up with. I came up with the 4 principles to intentional boxing training, right? And that's the Healing Mitts intentional boxing training system. And I'm going to tell you about those right now. Number 1, the art of relaxed intensity. Now, in order to be successful in boxing, you cannot, if there's an arousal scale, actually, there is one, I don't know what it's called, but it's a arousal scale. So think about being asleep being the least amount of arousal, right? You're asleep. Then think about having a panic attack, like at the peak of arousal, like you're way too aroused. So that's your scale, either panic attack all the way down to asleep. So the art of relaxed intensity is about being somewhere in the middle, in a place where you're aroused enough to where you can make sound decisions and you're not overreacting to other stuff, but you're not asleep. You have to be somewhere in the middle. And I think that this serves us in everyday life as well as in boxing situations. I tell people, do nothing until you're doing something, because if you are going to take the bait in boxing and overreact, it's not going to serve you. It's going to get you punched in the face. And I believe that life will do the exact same thing to you, right? If you are not prepared, you need to be somewhere in the middle. Okay? Principle number 2 is active concentration. Okay? And this is about having an appropriate response to what is happening, right? It's about being responsive versus being reactive. Especially in the beginning, we have a tendency to want to use our instincts in boxing. Especially in the beginning, we don't have any real instincts. We need to train to learn what the appropriate responses are in order to get to that point where it's instinctual, and that takes a very long time. Okay? So it's all about having an appropriate response to what is happening. And I think that serves us in everyday life, right? It serves us when we talk to someone else. It serves us when we talk to ourselves. It serves us whenever we're doing anything. We need to be proactive in our life versus being reactive. Okay. Principle number 3: champion's breath. I say it like this: control your breathing or control your breath, control your fight. In boxing, when you're getting hit, it's easy for you to become excited or upset or angry. And as our moods and our emotions start to take over, our breath rate increases. The best thing for us to do in those moments where our emotions are getting the better of us, or we've gotten hit with a punch and we feel hurt, the best thing for us to do is to get oxygen in our body and slow things down by taking deep diaphragmatic breaths. And I think you guys get the picture of what it would be like outside of boxing in your life if something was going wrong, and your breath, you're getting excited and you're getting angry, or you're getting anxious, you're being aroused. You just need to take a deep breath, bring some oxygen into your body by breathing deep diaphragm breaths and getting in control of what's going on in your body. I mean, the breath is the only thing that is automatic plus underneath your control. It's a life hack. Learn to take deep breaths, okay? In boxing, in the ring, and outside the ring. And the last principle is technical focus. And it's what I say is focus on what you're doing. If you're in boxing practice, it's time for you to let go of everything else that might be going on in your life. Take a deep breath and focus on the technique. Focus on boxing. Be technically focused. Focus on what you're doing. Have full and complete self awareness and full and complete awareness of the current moment. Get out of your head and get into practicing your boxing. Okay. And this serves us in everyday life. So imagine, right? Being technically focused or intentionally focused, there's kind of like a synonymous term, is you get in the car and you're going to go drive home, right? You've set an intention. I'm going home. I've had a long day. I'm going home. Now, halfway between, you know, where you are and your home, somebody honks the horn at you and cuts you off, and flips you off, and you react. You've lost the focus on your intention, on what you were doing in the first place, and someone else has pulled you into their own stuff. Whatever was bothering them, they're taking it out on you. And you've decided to participate. Now you're angry and honking a horn and flipping someone off and chasing them down, and that could end really badly, right? Or you can allow that person to have their own stuff, honk the horn at you, flip you off, and you can stay focused on your intention is to go home, right? How many times do we get distracted because we're not focusing, we're not being intentional? It happens. And so these are the things that I teach inside the gym and outside the gym. It's a dialogue that we run through with all of our clients, right? And this is the Healing Me story. Like, this is what it's all about. It's about making boxing more mindful. It's about helping people heal through the sport of boxing. Now, this isn't therapy. We do deep inner work in the boxing world. How to make you into a better boxer, how to help you control your emotions better for boxing, and it will translate into everyday life. Now, in therapy, you go do the deep inner work with your therapist. And that's it. That's the story. That's what we're doing, and that's what we're all about. So if you guys really like these talks, like listening to me talk about random stuff that comes into my mind, well, this one's not random. This is my not random. This is my love. This is my passion. This is what I do every day. If you guys like this, go ahead and support me by going to healingmitsboxing.com/shop and pick up yourself one of those Boxing Saves Lives t-shirts, or the Box Out Anxiety t-shirts, or one of those Principle Number 3 Champions Breast t-shirts. That's all I got. Well, hope you guys are doing well, and we'll talk soon. Bye.